Following my last attempt on using cerrobend, I decided there needed to be a better way. I went over to Sta-Warm and took a look at their lineup. They have a number of different heaters and melters designed for cerrometals. Most had capacities of hundreds of pounds or even thousands of pounds of low temperature alloy. I certainly didn't need something that sat on a pallet. So as I looked around, I found what they call a Cerro Dropper. The droppers not only can be used for alloys, but can be used for waxes and glues and things that need to be dispensed. Two models were available, one that held 2 pints and another that held 4 pints. I was pretty excited until I got the quote back from Sta-Warm. $750 for the Cerro Dropper as pictured. Wow! So I started to troll eBay, and it wasn't long that I found what was listed as a wax dropper. It was made by Sta-Warm, but the model number didn't correlate to anything that I could find modern on their website. Additionally, the poster had listed it as being 14 amps, and that really made me wonder if that was correct. Looking at the photos more carefully, it looked like it might have been 1.4 amps. Knowing that amps times volts equals watts, told me that 14 times 120 volts is 1,680 watts. That's enough to heat up a small room, let alone a tiny 1 pint or 2 pint dropper. So I moved the decimal point, came up with 168 watts, and comparing that to what I found on Sta-Warm's website, it looked like it was a C2X model, or something very similar. So I pulled the trigger and bought it. After it arrived, I couldn't wait to get using it. So I cleaned it up and masked it off and decided to repaint it something close to the factory colors, and I think it turned out pretty good. Of course, I tested it before painting it, but one thing I discovered is that I needed to be able to remove the plunger to clean it. And so here I'm Loctiting in a little brass screw and replacing the bolt and nut arrangement with a thumb screw. So at the end of the day, it's easy to clean up. Of course, my cerrobend billets are now too big to fit in the 2 pint pot, and I thought maybe I would have to make a new mold, but I discovered that I was able to snap them in half fairly easily with a mallet. I tried several different methods of snapping them in half, a wrench and what have you, but the mallet was quick, fast, and it worked every time. Using the dropper is simple. Fill it up about halfway with water, dump in all of your material that you want to melt, plug it into the PID controller. In this case, I found that running it at about 75C, so just slightly higher than the 70C, was perfect. And of course, install the thermocouple. As before, once the metal has melted, skim off the top, leaving it nice and clean. It's not super critical with the dropper because it does dispense out of the bottom, but it is nice to have clean metal to start with. I found preheating the mold on low worked out perfectly to prevent cold castings. I then dispensed the metal from the Cerro Dropper directly into the mold, and you can see the mold is dry and it comes out dross free. I then cooled the mold with some cool water. I cast a second ingot viewed from the side so you could see how the valve works. This bottom dispensing will work great when filling tubes and will make this Cerro Dropper invaluable for that. The Cerro Dropper has worked out fantastic. The ingots are turning out great. The metal is easy to work with. It's easy to set up, easy to clean, doesn't require all the babysitting. And best of all, none of the frothiness or the bad castings that we were seeing before.